All right, welcome everybody. Where we left off was we build. Where we left off was we build a basic set of basically a basic authentication system in our app. What's up, people? How's it going? And we did this in the most like hacky way possible, and we started deep diving into how Bcrypt works and everything. I finally figured out how it works. So we don't have to deep dive into the source like we did last time. I think that's not very needed. I then off stream worked on this a little bit more because I was at my parents' place and I was like, you know, my mom is at work, might as well just work on this app a little bit. So what I did was I split off a couple things. So instead of having our authenticate with email and password inside of our accounts module, so in our app here, we have an accounts service right here that basically can ask for users, get a user, create a user, update a user, delete a user, and all that stuff, which is still there. We even added some extra validation, but I'll explain that later. And we moved all of that logic into the auth module instead. So we have an authentication module within accounts that can basically log in a user by giving your email and password, or and then it can authenticate. So it can check like, hey, we moved this into an encryption module as well. So instead of calling Bcrypt directly, we've abstracted this away into its own module, which basically can verify. Even though it's not really encryption, it is to a certain extent. It's more like hashing. But we've made a simple module called encryption to hide away all the implementation details from the modules that are using it, which basically means that if we were to change this to something completely different and we keep this API that we have here, we can change Bcrypt to something completely different and not having to update all the other code. This is a tiny thing to do, and I don't think it has much impact. It's just something like aesthetically, I like aesthetically, it is pretty pleasing to look at this and be like, okay, encryption, verify the password by giving it the password and then the user password hash, and then see if this user is actually authenticated. So the user logs in, giving the email and the password. We find the user by his email. If the user exists, then we call authenticate on it. So we pass authenticate a user and a password. And then if the user is there, then we continue. If the user is not there, then it's automatically false. The user is not authenticated because his email is not there. If his email is there, then we can check, okay, user, validate your password pretty much. And now we're good to go. What's up, Lars? How's it going? What's up, Josh Chun? Which is fairly simple. What did I do? What else did I do? Let me see. So I added password hashing. I think this was already there. I don't know why it shows up here, but in our user, we have a step that basically hashes the password if the change set is there. So if the change set matches this, so if the change set is valid and we've changed the password, then we can basically turn it into a password hash by hashing it. Otherwise, if the change set doesn't match this case, it will go to this one and it will just continue on going. No changes to the change set here. We've turned password into a virtual field, and that password hash is a table column where we just have hashed passwords in there, just to make sure that we don't have, it's not confusing that if we change the password, that we're not changing the password hash in this case. What else did I do? So I remember doing this on stream, adding login to the user controller just to make sure that we're doing it. No salting. There is salt. inside Bcrypt, no? What's up, Prof? How's it going? We could add our own, we could add like application specific salt as well, which is fine. We can do that. Which is really simple now because we moved everything into one place. I might go over, because I finally figured out how Bcrypt can trace back how you've basically if a user is authenticated or not. Maybe I'll show that today, maybe not, we'll see. So last time we built like a login thing, and I moved pretty much, I split a lot of the logic into different modules just to make it easier. So here we move Bcrypt directly to encryption, so that basically means that everything is one place. Like I said, we moved authenticate with email and password away from accounts into auth. What else did I do? Change some stuff around. Basically, this was like a case inside. We could also do pattern matching on on function level, which is just an aesthetic. It's nothing too crazy. So we moved login from our user controller to a session controller, which basically now has a new and a create and a delete. So we can log out the user, we can create the session for the user, and a new page is pretty much the login page. So we moved that away from the user. We added routes for those, and we have the UI. This is the part where I renamed password to password hash. So here's the secret. I will obviously change this to an environment variable when we actually are ready to deploy this, but for now I just hard-coded a bunch of shit, which is fine. This is not going to end in production anyways. Well, I hope so. I don't do Elixir. It's just the only functional programming thing on right now, and I'm really interested in the language anyways. Same. Honestly, using it more and more, it actually feels pretty great. Oh yeah, this command basically is the entire let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys. This thing is pretty much the entire oh god. All right, I think we're good. I think I moved my screen and now my screen's back. Okay, we're good. This thing basically does how would I say this? It basically, yeah, how would I explain this? It generates tokens that you would normally, well, you can do whatever you want with it, but you need to somehow be able to invalidate a session, for example. So the user's logged in and we want to force this user to log out. You need to somehow store that session somewhere, because you cannot invalidate like JWT tokens, for example. I think they've kind of figured out ways to do it, but in theory what it comes down to is you still need to somehow invalidate this. So Guardian basically guards for this. So you can create a module that uses Guardian, and then you tell like the resource that it uses to store what kind of unique identifier. In this case, if the user logs in, he's the only user with this ID. So the ID is in this case the unique part. So we basically say, okay, to string this ID and just shove it into as a subject of the token. And then when we get it back, we basically call this. It's basically syntactic sugar to do to basically guard off a bunch of your routes. Makes that a lot easier. So for example, it verifies the session, it verifies the header, and it can load a resource once, which is pretty important because you don't want to continuously whenever, okay, so let's say you store your user ID in a session, which is what we did before, right? So we put the session in the session. We have a key called user ID, and then we store the user ID inside of there. And then when the user hits a route and he's logged in, we want to basically check the session, get the ID, and then get the user for that ID, so we can, for example, display something in the UI saying like, hey, name, welcome back, or something. But if you were to take this out of the session and you weren't storing it anywhere, you would basically fetch a user every time, right? Because the only information you have on controller level is basically that you is the user ID. That's the only thing you store in a session. So what this library basically does, it adds it. If you call this once, it will add it. If you call load resource, which you can pipe basically through in your router, so you can say a couple of routes use this pipeline, which basically means it will load the resource for you because you will probably need it anyways. So we will use this within our admin, sort of thing, because what we're building right now is just my normal website, which is just a bunch of tiny apps. I still need to fix this. That's what I said last time too. It doesn't redirect directly anymore. So it's a bunch of tiny apps with an admin panel, which I can manage all the content. And so we always need the current user. So we'll fetch that. And what this basically does, this just adds it to the response, or to your connection basically that you have available within your controller. So you can use it in your view, and you can use it anywhere, which is nice. So it just comes with a bunch of helpers like, yo, Guardian, sign this user in. It will do all the magic for you. And the same goes for signing out. And you can just tell it like, hey, plug in this pipeline and ensure authenticated. So if the user is not authenticated, we redirect him to some page, or we show some error or whatever. So this is basically the pipe operator. So what this basically is if you were to have a function called, I don't know, reverse string, right? Which takes a string and then it reverses the string around. So like it takes all the characters and it like reverses them around and then turns it into a string again. So we have this, and we also have uppercase first character, which takes a string and it uppercase the first character of the string. And then we also have uppercase last character, which takes a string, and then, yeah, that's pretty basically what it is. So what if you were to have this string called hello world, right? And you want to call reverse string on it, and then you want to call uppercase on this, and then you want to call uppercase the last one on it as well. You can see that this is becoming a little ugly, right? This is not great code. This is like, you have to read it from the inside out. The value is right here, and you need to like reverse check this. So basically what you can do instead is because, okay, this is basically how it goes, right? So here's the value. It will first evaluate this, and then it will say, okay, reverse string. So this becomes let's say world hello, whatever. It takes the words and it flips the words around. I don't fucking know. And then it evaluates this one, right? It evaluates this one. So it goes over uppercase first character. Cool. Okay, let's do that. So this will turn into world hello. Beautiful. All right. And then the last one is being called, and then it does the last character, right? So, okay, beautiful. All right. So this is basically what it did. So what if you want to make that more readable? You can literally just say, yo, okay, I have this value right here, and I pipe it through this function right here. And then basically the value here gets added to as a first argument of this function. Then I want to pipe it to the next one. So the result of this function goes into the next one, becomes and adds the result as the first parameter of this one. And then I also want to call this. So basically now this actually now makes sense, because you can see I have this value right here. I pipe it through a reverse string. So it first reverses the string, then it uppercases the first character, and then it uppercases the last character, which just makes it a lot easier to reason about, because it says exactly what you're doing. So an example in real code is I have this change set, and a change set is just basically a data type, which I can give a set of validations, and it will do a set of validations for me, and I will alter this change set based on if something went wrong or not. So I have this user change set here, and I cast the attributes that you're passing. And you should not be confused by how you read this, because this is basically the same as just calling this, right? Because like I said, the first argument, the thing that is here is the first argument of the first function. So it's basically like this now. And then the result of that is being passed here. So it's basically this. Like this. Basically the same thing. So what this does, we take the chain set, we push it into this function. This function is being called cast. Is basically you pass it a bunch of attributes that you want to change, and then you whitelist the attributes that you're actually allowed to change. So for this one, this is basically a login chain set. You can only send an email and password. So I think we'll need to rename this later on, because this is only used for login. So you basically tell it, okay, you're only allowed to send email and password. It's the only fields you're allowed to change. Then we validate that that both of the required fields are there. If any of these fail, then the change set will become invalid. Then we pipe it through a hash password, and then we check the uniqueness constraint. Function, composition, and application. It's not so much composition. It's just piping. It's pretty much just piping. It's just taking a value, shove it into a function. Whenever that function is done, shove it into the next one, shove it into the next one, shove it into the next one. Well, actually, it is the opposite of what a compose function would do. Because this is basically from start to finish, while compose would like create a function that you can call with input, and then so compose would be something like this, right? So you would say cast here, or like this one first, this one. These all return functions, by the way. These all return functions that take something, and then you would call it with user. And then it will go in reverse order, so it will do this one first, and then it will go this one, and then it will go this one, then it will go this one. It's and then, yeah. It's just a pipe operator. If you want to know more about it, just Google pipe operator. They're in a lot of languages. Pass the result of an expression as the first parameter of another expression. So instead of doing this, you say this thing goes into this one, goes into this one, goes into this one, goes into this one. Elixir rocks, pipe it into string split. So this string becomes the first argument of this function that's being called, and then it will call it for you. So this is useful only if you pass a value through a bunch of functions, because just this is not the most readable way, right? Like, which one is more readable? If we were to have this, versus explicitly calling it, I think explicitly calling it is still more readable. But if we then have another like pipe that it has to go through, so uppercase and split, for example, then all of a sudden this one becomes more readable, because now all of a sudden we have to do this, and we also have to do this, which then all of a sudden doesn't read that well anymore. And it's like, oh god, okay, I first have to wrap my hand. Okay, where do we start? Oh, this was the value. Okay, now we pipe it into this one, and the result of that one goes into that one. Okay, so this one's all right. This one's all right. What else did we do? I just want to make sure that you guys are up to date of what I did. I moved this shit to admin. So in router, we now have a normal scope, which basically allows you to go to login. Make this a little bigger. Basically allows you to go to login, pipes it through the session controller, and we have resources playlist, which we'll probably split off. And then we have resources user, which we only allow through this entire scope. Basically now pipes through this this pipeline. So it goes through both the browser, which is doing like, hey, it accepts HTML, it has sessions, it has Flash, it has protect from forgery, secure browser headers, all that stuff. And it will go through my pipeline, which is defined here. Can I click on this? Oh, I can't find it. Rip. Auth pipeline, which is basically just saying, okay, if you find an error in like your session, I will go to the error handler, which basically just redirects you back to login. You need to sign up and all that stuff. And then we have another pipeline, basically require admin authentication, which we'll just call the Guardian plug ensure authenticated, which basically checks the Guardian, basically the Guardian pipeline of wherever you are, and then it basically has to ensure that you're authenticated. So it will basically fail whenever you're not, and then it will go to the error case. So what we're saying here is that everything /admin will have to go through, will have to require you to be logged in, and then it goes through the admin user controller. If you go to /users, so /admin/users will require you to log in, which makes sense. The nice thing is that there's not a lot of there's nothing extra really in our controller, because all it knows is that you just is that you're logged in. The only thing, also another thing that I added was, yeah, show that you're logged in. So this is basically just some helper functions for that, for the view. It can get the current user, it will do the Guardian plug call. So out of Guardian, like I said, it will load the resources, so you have to ask Guardian, hey, can I have the current user? Sure. It can also tell you if you're authenticated or not, which is nice. So we basically have this, I basically made this available to all views. So like everywhere in my application, I can now ask, what is the current user? And then we added it to the view. I'll show you in a little bit. Yeah, so in our, okay, let me show you. Let's run the app. A little bigger. So I updated, since I worked on a different machine, I have to basically update some dependencies. And then I'll mix Phoenix server. Make sure that we run the server, the development server. I'm using an older version of Phoenix, so it's gonna complain about some stuff. All right, so this is our app. We can log in. I don't think I have a user, so I'll need to create a user real quick, because there's no way I can create a user. So I think it is IX, and then shit, there's something like Phoenix console. I never remember the command. I think it's IX -s mix. So basically this tells, this is basically the interactive Elixir command, so you can run Elixir, and then you tell it like, yeah, also like load in all the dependencies and all that shit, all the whole mix project basically. So what I can do now is I can do repo get. Oh, I need to import repo, or I can do just rcats .repo, and then I can do all, and then I can do just rcats .accounts .user. And this should give me all of the users. What's up, Meg? How's it going? All right, so it's complaining now that there is something wrong here. So it's expecting password to be there. It's expecting password hash column to be there. But since it was previously called password, we have to basically run a migration. So let's do that. So let's do mix, mix acto dot reset. Let's just clear the entire database. So what this will do is this will clean out, drop the table, I think. It's being accessed by other users. There are 10 other sessions using the database. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's try again. All right, it was just the web server. Okay, so the entire database is dropped, the entire database created, and then 2 migrations have been run to create the playlist table and the users table. So if we now do this again, we can do the same command, which was, let's alias it first. So let's alias jusrcats.repo, so we can use repo directly, and we can do alias jusrcats.accounts.user. Let's just do accounts, because I think if we get accounts, that's good enough. So I can do a repo get or all, and this basically, you pass it like a basically pass it a schema. So it is user schema in this case, and then it will fetch the schema and it will know what table to check for and all that stuff. So if we do accounts dot user, we basically get a list of all the users, which is currently none because we just destroyed our database. Because we have a bunch of modules available here within our accounts context, we can easily create a user here by just calling accounts.create_user, and then we have to pass it a bunch of attributes. So what we need to pass is the email field, which is going to be bobross.com, and we're going to have a password field, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, super secure. All right, let's create this user. The tuple said it's okay, so we're all good to go. The user has been created. So if we were to call users again, we can see that we have 1 user. It is a hash password by Bcrypt, and the virtual field is nil. So virtual field password is nil at this time because it's a virtual field. Beautiful. All right. So now we can basically just log in. So let's boot up our Phoenix server again. Let's see if we can log ourselves in. Bob Ross. Papa Ross, by the way. Oh, it's already running. All right, let's try this. So it is bob@ross.com, and then the password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And look at that, we're logged in. So we go to /users now, we can see ourselves. Oh, /admin/users, sorry. We can see ourselves. And the funny thing is, I basically implemented that we cannot delete ourselves. So even if the button were to be available, we have backend validation basically checking if we can actually delete ourselves. And if you are deleting yourself, then you should stop doing that. So this is all added in this accounts module. It's basically a service, but it is not really a service because it's just pure functions. But you can call it a service, I guess. So basically what this does is I have this delete user function at the top, defined that it takes one attribute, or it takes one parameter, right? This function takes a user struct, a user schema, basically, an instance of a user, which you can't really say, it's a struct. A user struct, and we call it user, and then we just delete the user. So if you're calling this method and you only pass a user, then we assume, okay, yeah, you are just calling directly into the service. You want to delete this user without any validation. Sure, let's do it. If I completely wanted to disregard this, I could even delete this function But for now, I think it's fine to have it because in our in here we can at least use it. If you don't use this and you pass 2 arguments, this is pattern matching. So it's matching if this case failed. Oh, I see I have another delete user. Let's check that one. So what I'm doing here is I call delete user and you pass it a connection as the first one, which is basically telling it that I'm gonna check your entire connection and I can check if this user is logged in or not. And if you pass it the connection and a user, then I will call my auth helper and check if this is the current user or not. So you pass it the connection and the user, and if it is true, if this is the same user, then we're gonna return you an error. And otherwise, we're actually gonna call delete user here and delete the user. So we basically have only one function defined that is gonna delete the user. And the cool thing about Elixir's pattern matching is that it basically allows me, you can call it function overloading. I think that's what it's called as well, function overloading in other languages. Not entirely sure if that's the same thing, but I think so. So as you can see, I have one here with this type, and then I have another function with the same name, just different arguments, and they return something different. But it can basically tell which one I have to use when I use the function. So no more need to check, hey, if you're passing a connection, then do something else and branch off into another function. You're basically keeping your code nice and concise, basically telling it like, okay, if you're calling delete user with just a user, sure, that's fine. You can still do that. If you're calling it with a connection, though, I assume that you want me to check if this user is currently logged in. But the nice thing is this function, all this does, it just checks, hey, connection, do you have a current user? If so, then take the user's current user ID, and then we match it. If you don't have a current user, then you're not the current user because you don't have a user. And then if you're calling current user without passing anything, so when it's not matching this case, so let's say you're passing it a user that doesn't have an ID yet, or the connection, well, the connection can be there because you still need to pass something. If that's the case and you didn't pass a user that has an ID, so the user is not even created yet, then it's automatically false. But I don't think you can delete a user that hasn't been created yet. But you know, that's fine. We could even check that here too. If there is an ID, or we can even do it like here. You can do like when, so only do this when the user ID is greater than 0, for example. So it will first match on this. If this matches, then it will check this validation case. If that does not match, then I will just see if there's other things that do match, which can be really powerful, and it can simplify the look of your functions by quite a bit. And I really like that about the language. I really like that. So this is nice. So we basically added an easy way to validate if this user is the current user, then don't delete it, basically. Which means that if I were to, let's roll this back. I didn't change anything, did I? No. If I were to go to the template and I were to let's see, admin user index, and I were to not disable this button, right? I'll be like, if it's not the current user, then it's okay. So now I can press delete and it will give me a warning, and then if I hit OK, you can see that I will get an error. So how is that? How is that even possible? How is that possible? So in our user controller, in our delete method, we get the user and then we check a case. If accounts delete user is okay, so everything went fine, then I can say user deleted successfully and redirect back to the admin user path, right? If the delete user call returned with this, cannot delete current user, then we say, okay, cannot delete the current user and redirect back to the admin path. Which is super nice. In theory, I could even yeah, I think this is an okay way. In theory, what I was thinking of, we could even, because there's two cases here to do the same thing, I'm still okay with this like duplication, because in theory we could have different behavior on both sides, and then it's kind of annoying that if you reuse this in both places, it's kind of annoying if it's like shared. But I think something like this is also possible if you were to decide, but I'm not entirely sure if that's possible. So at least we matched on this case now. So if it's an error case, then redirect. If it's something completely different, I want my app to crash because I wasn't prepared for that case, you know? So I'm not actually like I'm not doing like if it's something else here and be like, okay, if it's something else, this is basically an Elixir saying like, if it's something completely different that I don't know about, then do something else, then do connection and then redirect also to the admin page. I don't want to do this because I want my app to crash if something bad happened, you know? I don't want I wasn't prepared for this case. If all of a sudden this case exists, I want my app to crash and I want to get notified that this is broken behavior now. All right, so we're doing all right. So that's cool. So we cannot delete ourselves, even if the UI were to do it. Our application logic is basically preventing us from that case. We can create a new user here. We would still need to do some validation if it's an actual email address and all that stuff. But you know what? We'll do that another time. I don't think it's that important for an admin panel. So as you can see, if I delete another user, then the deletion is completely fine because it actually matched this case. Because the deletion was okay, because our account service was like, okay, this is not the current user you're deleting. You're fine to just delete it. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really powerful, and I think it's done in a way that kind of like spreads out responsibilities. And everybody knows only about its one thing. Yeah, so what I want to do now is, because this is authentication, I want to actually test this. And I haven't really done any testing in Elixir yet because I'm still learning Elixir myself and I'm still learning how to do things. But I think it will be a nice thing to just see if we can test that we're basically logged in and that we cannot access the admin panel if we're not logged in. You know, I think that's pretty important stuff, and it's a pretty important business criteria that we want to test for. So first we need to figure out how we can even run the tests, and I think it's just mixed test. But let's see. It is. I think a lot of things will crash. It's compiling a lot of things. A lot of warnings. That's all right. Generated certificates app, and then it's gonna assert a bunch of stuff, and you can see a lot of tests are passing, but also a lot of tests are failing. So out of the 35 tests, there's 11 failures, and I never wrote any of these tests. These are just created for me. And if I'm completely honest, I am not a fan of having my test folder outside of my library folder. But this is something I see in a lot of places, and I think it might be like a convention in Elixir world or in Phoenix. But Not a fan, because when you delete one thing and you forget to delete your tests, it's kind of nice having them close together, you know? If I don't need this module anymore, then I can just delete the entire module. So it tested a bunch of shit for me already. So for our accounts module right here, we have this module, right? We have this these helper functions, like list all users, get a user, all that stuff. So we don't need to do that ourselves every time. This is also where you want your concerns to live. So it basically scaffolded already a test for me, which is gonna check, hey, if I give it this email and password, and we create a user with it, if we call this user, it should have the user. So which tests have failed, we can now see. So it's a user controller test, which makes sense because I think I moved that. Yeah, I moved this to admin. So there's no way this is even gonna work. Everything is gonna fail in this one. User controller test, user accounts test. So it expected that I had a password with some password, but my password is nil. Because we now hashed the password, and password is a virtual field. How in the world am I gonna test that it hashed the password? If I were to create this user, I should assert that it has a password hash set up, right? I think that's what we should assert for. So if you user.email and it is equal to some email, that's completely fine. Like, I don't mind. So let's change some email to initial@email.com, and then the updated email is updated at email.com. So at least we have that shit caught up. And we could even leave it like this if we wanted to, because we don't actually have email validation. So if we were to implement email validation, we want these cases to fail. But I think this is fine, even having it like this. Some password is completely fine, and some updated password is completely fine. So let's see. So we want to assert that password is not equal, is nil. Because if we refetch the user, then the password is not set. We don't ever want to store this password. So I think this is a fair assumption. And we want to assert that the user password hash is basically set. And how would I do that? Is not equal nil? I don't know if the user before this is nil. So if I were to assert that if I just have an empty user like this, okay, wait, let me try something. So if I were to take if I call this like user struct, and I have this user and I assert that user struct dot password hash equals nil, then this case should pass. Is there any way for me? So what is this using? I think this is just using the testing within Mix itself. I think Mix by itself has a testing framework, which is awesome. I think that's very cool that you can just do that you guys have that they have this baked into the language pretty much, into Mix. So let's see, Mix test. Does the percentage sign in front of it of the user have any kind of special meaning? It's basically just creating the struct. This. So the user struct itself, well, it's basically created by active schema. So if we were to go there, we can see somewhere here. I remember that I found it somewhere. Oh my god, this thing is so big. Struct. Generates a struct. Struct. Well, let's just search Elixir struct. Oh, Elixir struct. Oh, I already found it. Elixir struct is basically a map. And a map you write like this with the percentage sign. So a map normally you would write like this. And you would just give it like a key value basically. Email is blah. And then because you created a module called user and you define a struct inside of it. Struct. You can basically say name is Bob. And now I can basically create a user like this. And I can set the name to be something else. Let's try it. Let's try it, boys. Let's close this one. IX. Let's create a module called user. And then normally we can do this, right? So this will give me a map with email, key, and blah as value. And I also define it like that. Wonder. Oh, that also works. Beautiful. That's cool. Okay, so if I were to do this, this will now create a user struct, which is now type safe, right? So I can basically assert that this is always a user now, instead of having a generic map like this, which I cannot really type well enough. I now have a user struct which I can basically type. So I can now guarantee that this is a user which has this set of values. I'm not sure if I can add more. I'm really curious about that. Bob. And then Ross. Let's see. This will error out because your struct, your map, does not have the key Bob. So this basically just makes this more type safe. So a regular map looks like this, which is just a key value. Pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, easy way of saying it would be just a key value store, like type. And then if we create a module called user and we define a struct into it, we can basically create a struct like this, and then it's type safe because we only allow name as a property, which is nice, which is cool. So if we were to test on this user struct, and if we rerun the tests, let's see what it does. So it already compiled this time, which is way faster. I think this will pass. So let's see, what's our test name? Accounts test. I think it will still fail. Oh no, wait. Where were we? So let's say it's not nil. And then run a test. Then it should fail. Accounts test. Yeah, so here. So it basically said, I'm asserting that the user struct password hash does not equal nil, but it did get nil. So this call actually resulted in nil. So what we need to do is we need to check if this thing is not nil. And I think that's a fair enough case. That basically means that if we create a user with the valid attributes, we are certain that the password is hashed. And then maybe in our authentication module, we can create a user and basically integration test kind of between modules, saying like, okay, I can create a user, and then in my authentication, I want to test if I can log in with this user using the correct password, which basically means that it will go through all the hashing and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's a good enough split off test. But I think this is good. So it's testing the password is nil, and then the other password is not, the password hash is not nil, because this one needs to be set in the database. But we need to assert that this is now updated email. No, create a user. So this is initial@email.com. This one right here. Beautiful. And then if we create a user with invalid data, it should throw an error with an ecto chain set. But it will still give me a chain set back. That's beautiful. Now our update user is gonna fail because this is not asserted. Can we even update the password? I think we can. So I create a user. I actually want to get the user before we update it. Old user. This might not be the most like this is not the most like, oh no, we can just get it here because we already have the user here. So if we say old password hash and we say equals user.password hash, and then we start asserting. So we update the user with the password. The password should still equal nil. And then we assert that our user.password hash does not equal the old hash, because it should have a new password. So at least we're validating that that's still possible, that if I were to update my credentials and change my password, that I can still do that. Yeah, this makes me wonder if I want to actually test here if the user can log in. I don't know if I want that in here. Because maybe we can just do that in a controller test. Because we need to log in the user anyways in there. Alright, update user 2 with invalid data, returns your chain set. And the user is still the same. So this user is still the same as the one that if we were to call the database for, which is good. That's a good assertion. It's like, it basically checks that we didn't actually update. So it will give me an error, but it also did not update the current user in the database, which is important to know. I think that's good. That is good. Change user returns the user chain set. Which is just calling .chain set on it. Yeah.
If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say.
I think. All right.
And therefore all you'll have to
So I think this accounts test should pass now.
The same is true
Hopefully.
for people who think all the time. That means when I use the word think, talking
So for those of you that are not familiar with tests at all, okay, some password is still there
chit-chat
in our accounts test. So return all users,
words inside your skull.
list users. Oh,
If you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking.
yeah, this makes sense.
Just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, to find out what
So our user fixture sets the virtual field of the password, but we remove that virtual field when we actually get the list. So how are we gonna test that? I can basically test. Yeah. I can test the user IDs, I guess. This is a nice and short test, though. It just sucks that it doesn't match because this one, the list that we have here, does not match with the password that we have here. So let's create a user fixture and then just fetch that user. Yeah, it's not the most efficient one, but I think it's all right. We could also check the length, but I think it's good that it's, yeah, let's just fetch the user. It's fine. User is accounts.get user. Oh, we need the user ID. User. So we're pattern matching here, and we're taking out the user, or we're calling it ID. User underscore ID. So we're pattern matching that this user fixture is giving me back a user, and that the ID, that it has an ID key, and then the value will be basically added to pattern matched into this one. So we can reuse it here. And then now this test should pass. Because we're fetching the user and then we're adding it to the list. Add user, yeah. So if next one fails, this one fails because of the same reason. Because we get the user ID, but they don't match because the one has a password and the other one doesn't. So is there a way we can remove the password field? We could also do that instead of fetching that. So what we can do here is, instead of doing this, let's see, omit fields from struct Elixir. Fields from nested struct. Write a recursive function. Because what I can do in JavaScript, for example, I can do this. I can say constant, and then I take out ID, or in this case password, and I take the rest out of this object, and I call it user. This is what I can do in JavaScript. Which I think in this use case would be very useful. If I were to replicate this, it would just call user fixture. And then I get back an object, or instruct in Elixir's case, and I would take out this, and I can use this, so I can console log password here. And this would give me the password, but the rest of the field, or the rest of this data in this object, will be called user, and will just be an object except for the password key and value. So in this case, this would be very useful. I don't know if it has any of that. See, I can manually take out the password field, but I think that's very ugly. If there's any way I can like put something into this. Can I delete a value? Map Elixir. See what all the map methods are. See if there's any way to elegantly do this. It's a good song. I like this. N equals 1. 1, This is This one still matches. What does that do? That's caret. Map can also support specific update syntax to update the values stored under the existing atom keys. So we have a map that is 1122, and then we say map pipe 11, and then we update one key of map. That is interesting. But it only works for if the key exists inside the map already. So it will not add an extra key. That is interesting. Very, very interesting. Huh. Okay, let's see. Drop. Delete. What does this do? Delete A. No, wait. Map delete. This one. Delete A, you get back B. You can also call this on something that doesn't have A, and it will still be fine. So drop drops the given keys from the map. B and D. That's also not what we want. We want to still have the key. We just need to set the value different. But yeah. I think if we just test for the user IDs, I think that's good enough. So if we were to do new user equals this, and we assert that user.id equals new user.id, and we assert that the user email equal new user email, or it's more like DB user. DB user email, and then we want to say password equals nil, or the DB user password equals nil. Let's swap these around. Oh, this song is also very good. So chill. DB underscore user, and then we change these ones to be just user. For those of you that are wondering how I do this, I can do Command D. So if I have this and I do Command D, I can have multiple cursors. You can also just select, and if you hold Command, I think, or can't remember. Anyways, there's another way to do it. But I might need to update my VS Code for that. Equals nil. I want to check if the DB user doesn't have a password, but it does have a password hash. Hash equals does not equal nil. So we still validate the entire schema of things. I just wish we could partially take out stuff into a separate struct. Can I do that? So for those of you wondering, every single method of these is immutable. So if I were to have a struct before, and I assign this to something, so let's say I have this struct right here, and I call it struct1, and I create this map. I create this map, and I say email equals bobross.com, and then I were to alter this struct. So I were to do this like map dot replace with a bang, and I were to replace struct1, the map here, and I were to replace email with ross@bob.com. If I were to IO puts, which is basically just logging, struct1 here, .email, what I will always get back, and I can guarantee you that's always the case, is that I will get back this value right here. Because every single value here is immutable. So I cannot change any value here. What any of these methods will do, it will just create a new struct out of this one with the changed values. So this basically will create struct2 based on struct1 with the changed values. So struct1 will never change, and struct2 will now have my updated email. And you might think, why is that? Like, why would anybody want that? The cool thing is with this is there's no mutation. There's no mutation happening. So if something has been created, you can basically assert it using this and be like, no, this is not exactly the same anymore. This thing does not equal this thing, because this thing is a completely different struct with a completely different reference as this one. And this allows you to also not have any problems with logging, because if I were to log something, so let's say I can like queue up things. I can add things to a queue. So I have this queue and I can add stuff to it. And I add this struct1 to it, right? And then I were to change somewhere here, I would to like map, and then I replace some stuff from struct1, and then I were to like update A to B, right? And then I run the queue. Your struct1 will always be the same in this case, because map replace here does not actually mutate struct1. It will just create a new struct1, which I can use later on. So this queue right here will now only know about the old struct1, which is fine because that's what we needed it for at the time, which is very useful. It can cause some headaches sometimes, but I think this is for the better. And this can also, we applied this same strategy of immutability and treating things as immutable in the front end as well. And we created like really easy time traveling with this as well. Basically saying every action that you do is immutable. So every change you do, you can track that over time. So you can basically track every single change you've made and diff out what the changes were in between, and you have a complete timeline of what exactly happened with your thing. So let's say we have struct. So we create struct1, right? And we say email is Bob, right? And we shove it into here, and then we mutate struct1 by saying map drop, and then the struct1. And then we drop email, and then we do map, and then we do shit. We don't do the previous value. Struct2, struct3, we do map struct2, and we do map.add. Add an update. I don't know what the fuck that means. Is there anything like add? Probably there is. Put? Is it put? Fetch? No, fetch is getting the get lazy. Are we all getting lazy these days? New, no, merge. We can merge. No, why not? Let's merge. Struct1 with struct email is Ross. And if we were to make a list of this, we can now easily see, and if we were to debug this and this and this and this, we can now basically tell what has happened over time with our thing, right? Because everything gets like piped through. The value of 2 gets passed to 3, and then we can know exactly what has happened over time. We have this full array, and if we were to undo something, we were like, the user, let's treat this as like user, like Google Docs, for example. User 1 changed this. User 2 changed, dropped this email field, and then user 3 starts adding back email Ross with the value Ross. If somebody were to undo, I can just go back and I know exactly, if I were to replay from start to finish, I will know exactly what state it would be in. So state 4 would be basically replaying these two because struct 3 is undone. So just calling these two, we'll know exactly like what the previous values were. If that makes any sense. I don't know if I explained that right, but it doesn't really matter. What's up, Bruno? How's it going? You could just replace the password with nil into a new struct, then use a new struct to assert. Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to change the value of password to nil. That seems very weird, but I think it might be the better one because now we're like, if we were to add a value, then we're not asserting on that value, and I think that's pretty wrong. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's better. I'm not liking mutating this though. All right, how do we update a value? So we can replace map.replace user, and then password, and we set it to nil. Actually, let's do this. I don't know if I like this more, but let's add a comment explaining what it does. Why is this needed? Because now we can remove all this ugly stuff. But let's make this a function up here. Or maybe down here. fp remove password field. Empty password field. Takes a user equals user to return this call. Then I think we don't need to actually add a comment to it, and then we replace it with user. And then I think we have it better set up. So we create a user and we empty out the password field, and we can do the same thing for this one. Yeah, let's add a comment here. How do I add a comment? Because whenever you create a user, since the password field is a virtual field, we cannot assert on the password field. To simplify our lives, we simply replace the password field with nil for our fixtures. Beautiful. Future Boyd will love me. Future Boyd will be like, oh, that's the reason why we did it. And we probably have a better way of doing this. There's probably a better way, but at the time, like right now, I don't know what that better way is. So let's just do this instead. Let's see if this works. Syntax before what? Takes a user. Probably somewhere here though. This one. Ah, see. That's the reason. I think. No, still an extra. Shit, there's still one extra. Oh, here. We're not asserting anything anymore. Is that it? No. Fuck. 76. So here it says this. Oh, wait. This is what we need. Okay, here we go. Code block contains unused literal. So need add doc. How do I do that? Oh, you need space. Alright, whatever. Compilation error. User struct is undefined. Cannot expand struct user. Okay, let's just say user. I don't know if that makes any difference. I think that made a difference. I think it's still erroring. Yeah, it's still erroring. So, weird. Oh, update user has it. Okay, okay. So I think the other tests are passing. We just need to update user 2. User 2. And so we're updating the user. We have our old user. And we have our old password hash. And what is failing? Oh, we're asserting that this user is the same. Right. That is not true because we need to call this on a bum, 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 bum. So another test that failed, accounts test. Yes, update user 2. User, the password is nil, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. Assert that the user is of the user struct. Email is this. Password is nil. Yeah, this should work now. Create user in the accounts test. User. Create user. And then we assume that the password is nil, but the password is some password. So it reuses the struct that it initially created. Apparently. So my password is not actually nil. But if I were to create the user and then refetch the user, then I would have my password being no. So let's not even assert this. Like, I literally couldn't care less about this. Email field, we don't really use it, so I don't really want to assert on it. I literally do not care. Alright, seems that account test is almost done. We have now updated user 2 with invalid data. Returns me. This is still the same, so let's empty password field. And now this should completely pass in terms of the accounts test. Yeah, okay, beautiful. So let's see if we have more methods now, because we now added delete user, and we now, if we pass it a connection and the user is authenticated, then we are we want to basically validate that we cannot delete this user. So this is a concern of this accounts context. But I'm not sure if I want to test this here. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm not entirely sure. Test delete user 2, which is the second delete user. This is 1. This is 2, which takes a connection, and I don't know if I can just create a connection. And then it also takes a user. Deletes the user. With a logged in user, it would do. So we create a user. We need a connection somehow. And then we need to assert that if you are logged in with the current user returns an error. What's up, everyone? How's it going? How's life, man? So we create a user, and then we assert that if you are the current user, then you will get this error. So we assert that this will happen if you call accounts delete user with a connection, whatever the fuck that is. I don't know how we're gonna create that, but we're gonna create it somehow. This is what should happen. And then if test delete user 2 with another user that is not the current user. This is very weird, but that's just pretty much what it is. Then we're gonna assert that it will actually delete the user. That will just basically do this. And the user should be deleted. Current user. And I can change the attributes here, which is nice. Enum into. That's pretty cool. How's your stream? What did you play? Because I saw you stream. Other user. The witness. Never heard of that. Current user at email.com. Password I literally couldn't care less about. The puzzle game, a good one? Nice. Would you recommend it? I'm gonna grab myself a drink real quick. Would recommend it for sure. What kind of game is it? Because you said it's a puzzle game, but what should that look like? It's like a 3D game. All right, when you're deleting another user that is not the current user, so we're deleting another user, and the connection says that you're not the current user, then we should be okay, and we're deleted the current user, the other user. So if we were to try and fetch that user, then it would fail. If we delete the current user, then we assert, and we assert that we still, where's our get user? Here. We assert that we're still the same user. But we don't need to. Can I just do ID here? Equals user ID. So we're basically asserting that the user that you are currently logged in as is still there. Which I think is very important to assert that that's the case. That's good. Okay, let's see. Ah, I see. It's like a high-level puzzle game. That's cool. That's nice. Okay, so the user is still there, we assume. This is horribly gonna break because we need something, we need like something that we have in our controller, which is a connection. So how does Elixir here? It is a little weird because our module that shouldn't know about anything web related now knows about web relation, and I'm not sure if I like that. But on the other hand, the difference would be that I would then have to check the current user somewhere else, and I don't want to check that in the controller. I think I want this to be a business concern, and business concerns live inside this module and not in the controller. Problem is though, is that current user specific things should not spread into your service, but I think that's always a trade-off you have to make, and I'm not really sure what the right way of doing this is. But we'll just go with the flow that we currently have, and then we'll see. Make sure brain go, oh, that's nice. That's good. All right, so what does this do? On case. No documentation available. Can I not even jump to this? Here's Rocket's web. On case. All right, let's search for this. I can't jump to this, unfortunately. So let's search for this. On case Elixir testing controllers. On case. We just need a simple connection because our service doesn't need to spin up this entire like this. We just need a fake connection. So maybe we shouldn't test this here, but maybe on web level. But I think this is nice, a nice business concern that we can test in our business logic. We just need to know what that connection would be and what it looks like. It's a unit test, so we can test the integration of this within the controller, I would say. Bum, 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 bum. Do we have fan? I think I have some fan app. Fan control, yes. There we go. My laptop is getting super hot, so Um. Let me think. How are we gonna figure out what this connection, what this is? Yo, catch you later, everyone. Thanks so much for stopping by. Because I think if we want to test this properly on like unit level, we'll need to mock this. And then connection is going to do current user connection, and then it's going to take current resource, which will then use guardian. And then use guardian is... Oh, I can't go there. Feels bad, man. Guardian. Elixir. Which is this. And then this one would be... what was the method? Is current user, which is current resource, which is inside the plug. Current resource, which takes a connection and it will... Oh, here, plug connection. So let's see what plug connection is. Because this is what we need. We need plug connection. This module defines a plug construct. Yeah, this is what we need. So we need to like fake this inside of here. Define con fixture. And I don't know what it's gonna take, but it's just gonna create this beautiful con for me. Just like this, just like how to import this. I'm gonna be able to do con dot private key con fetch key. I want to set the current resource. That's what I want to do. Because I want to set the fetch key of a connection, and I get the resource key. Put private. That's what we need. Where do we get that from? Import guardian plug keys. All right, let's see if we can use this. Con equals struct con, and then con dot put private takes a con. It seems very stupid. It's just kind of like, I want to unit test this thing, but it needs to like have such a shitty mock that I might as well just test this in the controller. Bum, 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 bum. resource key, I don't care too much about, because I know that the resource key is Guardian. Wait, so on the connection, they already have a resource key. Add data to connection. Yeah, just basically put the resource, which is put the resource here, and it will fetch this. Well, let's do the same thing. It's a little stupid, but sure, let's do it. I don't know where this put private comes from. From plug con. So because I imported this, I have access to this now. So create a connection. And then, well, let's alias this instead. I think this is better to alias. Although I don't really mind using plug con. I think that might be more clear. So the key is this, and private is this, and then the resource will be the resource that we're getting here, which is the user in this case. But we also need to add the user ID. But since we also got that, so the claims would be here. Claims key. So this would be the resource key. And then we also have a claims key, which is exactly this. And then we basically create two of these on the connection. So one for the resource key and one for the claims key. And for the claims key, we want to take the resource.id, which in this case is a user. And yes, call this user. So you pass the con fixture a user, and then we basically tell this thing that it's just, yeah, that it's logged in. And I think this is all we check for. Let's try it. So instead of these, let's create a con, and it takes a user. This is the logged in user, so this is the current user. All right, let's see. I'm really curious if this is gonna work, because then I think we. All right, it's not gonna work. Fetch key. Oh yeah, fetch key. Fetch key and claims key. These should all be plug on. This is the guardian though. So where does this token key come from? Fetch token key. Oh, here. Yikes, I would have no idea. Alright, so here are... This doc block should not be a doc block. This should probably just be a comment. Like this, and... because it's gonna warn me about that. And... ops does not exist in accounts test. Oh, yeah. What would that be? Fetch key. Ops. What is fetch key? Def p fetch key. Here. Keyword get. Options. Key. Pipeline current key. Default key. Or we can call this anything we want. So what does resource key do then? Def p resource key. Def resource key. Resource key. Resource key. Elixir. Resource key. What is T? That's the type? Oh, that's the type, I think. Alright, I don't know if this is gonna do anything. But let's replace this key thing with just default and see what it's gonna do. No idea what's gonna happen if we do this. Oh. I think this is not gonna pass. Yeah, so here. Following arguments were given. Be given to put private 3. Missing adapter, unfetched. Example.com. $98. User 98. What we're having here. So we passed user 98. No functions matching in put private 3. Alright, so bring this back. So claims key is not in pluck on. That was in guardian. Or fetch key was. Keywords get options. So what is these options that we're passing? It is claims key. No. Yeah, claims key. Put private key options, which falls back to an empty array. So in theory, we could just leave this. FP fetch options key. Here we get otherwise pipeline current key. This does not exist, this fetch key. But claims key might be there, I don't know. Maybe this is overkill to try and unit test this one. Because we're gonna call this in a controller anyways. Maybe once we understand a little bit more what this actually needs, we'll figure it out. But let's keep the test cases here. We just don't implement them. Maybe we can skip them somehow. Mix test. X unit, that's what we need. That's probably what we're using. Skip. Yeah, at tag skip. Skip X unit. At tag skip. So at least I think I can like recommend this to anybody. But like, if you're writing tests and you do not know how to implement this test yet, at least write the test case down, because they will document basically how this code should work, even when your test case does not work. So if a developer were to later on look at this and be like, okay, I want to see if I can implement this because somehow we broke production or something like that. So let's say we shipped something and we broke it in production and we're like, okay, you know, we somehow broke this. Let's write a test case for this. And so the developer goes through the code and he finds like these skipped tests here. And he's like, okay, delete user with the current user returns an error. This is good to know because this basically means that whatever broke in production might be because of this test case right here. And if that's the case, then it's his job to try and basically get this test case covered, because you don't want to ever let that happen in production again. So apparently this test case was more important than we initially thought, and we thought we could test it by some other thing, but basically that didn't actually catch it, or the code got refactored, or the test got deleted. So some would say this is only noise. I would say this is very good to still have, because this still documents the code even when it's not used. So a developer could still come here and see, oh, this is what was expected of this file, of this module when they implemented this. So they could be like, okay, delete user with the current user returns an error. That's good. Okay, that's how it should go. Or when you delete another user with another user that is not the current user, then it should delete. Returns okay. Deletes the user. Beautiful. All right, so let's run the tests. We should be good now. We should be in the clear. It kind of sucks that we couldn't test this, but it's all good. Connection fixture, yeah, let's get rid of that. Figure out how to mock this connection. Who skipped? But our accounts module is now fully, well, fully covered. I don't know, but it's at least passing now. Beautiful. All right, so up to the next one. Now we're actually getting into interesting stuff where I actually want to know, because now we're actually going dirty now. Our user controller test. So this should be an admin, because that's where the module lives now. Admin user controller tests. It's accounts, admin user path. This is already renamed. That's good. But you need to be logged in before you can even do anything like this. So all we need to do is we need to just search for the controller tests. And we need to check with Guardian how the fuck do we test this. How to add the token to a request to Phoenix way. So in your auth controller test, you do a get. And we import hello world, this Guardian thing. Which is accounts Guardian. Or accounts Guardian. Guardian, right? Auth. Alright, it's auth Guardian. So let's import the Guardian here. And then we can say create a user. Create user. Set up create user. And let's create another one called login. Can I do this? No, probably not. And this will take a user and it will call this. Why do we need to import this? Oh, because auth path? No. Request header bearer token. Assert things here. Okay. Encode and sign. And I want to just return whatever I get back. Let's pass a connection on a user. And then what we can do is we can just take this. And then we can pass the connection back. And then we pipe it through put request header. Maybe this will return us the connection. And then, yep. Just everything like this. And as we return us the connection back, I would think. And let's try. So we set up, and then we get a connection and a user here. But I want to do setup in there as well. Log in. So can we... Let's see. Let's see how this works. So Phoenix controller test Guardian. Why would you add a random image? Does not make any sense. Okay, blah blah blah. Yep. Cool. Require authenticated. Oh, you can add a handler yourself. Cool. Didn't know that.
If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has.
Let's see.
And therefore all
Make
you
a
have to
connection
talk
in
about is your own
the
conversation.
test authenticator. We need to add some Guardian logic. Let us
Same is true for
start with deciding how we want it to look in our test. We can tag the test and have the like this.
conversation. The constant
Okay, that's how he wants to do it. I kind of like doing it in the setup though, because that would be nice. Create a user and then just log in.
If you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking.
And eventually, I think this will we can move this to like a helper that we can import anywhere
To find
and
out
just
what life
use it, or maybe just tag it because it's probably faster that way.
you become into immediate contact with the unspeakable world.
So here are all the helpers: tags, async, buildcon.
The force
Oh, here you can build a connection. Huh,
will blow the
that's
world.
nice. Maybe I'll try that. Anyhow. So we'll go through all the tags. And it will do if tags authenticated, create a user, it's create a user to whoever you want to create a user. The solution is not perfect, it slows down the test quite a lot. Alternative might be to bypass the application pipeline altogether. Is to speed up the test, but the controller will not have a user assigned in the test. Yeah, I think I don't mind having slow tests. Well, I mind having slow tests, but you can plug test unit to do this work, which simplifies your pipeline and removes the need for default ops. Init test session. How is this not like figured out already? How is this not figured out? This is like the library did like exist for quite a bit. We're setting up Guardian. Oh, here, tests. No, this is the controller. Authenticate. Oh, there's no test in this one. RIP. Insert user, Guardian login. Guardian login, bypass through your router. Get sign in, flush this session, recycle. Bypass true. So it will bypass these two pipelines. I don't like that. That will basically mean that if I rename one of the pipelines, my tests randomly fail. That seems very nasty. I think it's good. If you have a controller, just let it go through the entire pipeline. I think that's not a bad thing. Our authentication plug like this. And you can test, you can do something like setup, session data, map put, secret, blah, blah, blah. Sign connection assign current user to this. Bum, 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 bum. First time setting this up, it always takes a little bit of pain. But let's see if this works anyways. I think we're doing sessions, so I think this will not work because this is assuming that we're setting the headers, authorization bearer, and then the token, instead of putting it in a session, but that's all good. And we just call our code. Sounds a little fishy, but and we just do that. And we just go into lib and then guardian here and then call guardian authenticate sign in before. Let's see what this setup does. Setup X unit. Setup. Can I get this the setup that was run before me? Can I get like the context of that? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Music is so good, man. Setup. Like, what does this do? Setup in the array. Setup. But this is the state that we're in. It's a connection. Create user. We'll do fixture. And then OK user. Well, you know, let's just, can I do only? What are these tags? What were these tags again? X unit. Is it in here somewhere? Tag. Only? I'm looking for a cucumber to fall on. Any here. You're so fucking weird, man. I love you. How's it going, Luna? How's life? Only. I assume not. Let's see. Why does it not? Wait. X unit. X unit. Only or tags. I assume you didn't see my Twitter post. I did not see your Twitter post. No. How's live though? How did the audition go? Tag. Skip. Known tags. Skip. Describe the block of the test that it belongs to. Only X unit. Audition was fine, but I don't know if I will take the job because it pays too little. Ah, shit. That's always the saddest way. You hate to see that happening. Yeah, let's just try and fetch index. Comment all of this shit out. I wish I could just do like tag only, and that it would only run this test. But we're good. We're fine. We're fine. So list of users. This would already be not 200 here because we don't have a setup that logs us in. Let's call it. Well, let's first run this test. Only this. User controller test. Create user is unused. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Login 2 is unused. Wait, it passed. This test fucking passed. How did that happen? It also didn't just only do this. How the fuck did this test pass? Okay, no, it didn't pass, it didn't pass. Good. Okay, so now if we add setup login, maybe it should pass now. It's gonna fail, right? Undefined login 1. So what is it being called with? How do we know? So I guess it's not being called with anything. But we don't have a connection yet. We only have a connection after. So what if we, okay, what if we do this? Instead of setup, we just like call login here. Login takes connection. Oh, actually, we can just pipe this through. So con pipes through login with the user. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. And then we also can pipe this through with a get. Get the admin user index. Does that work? I don't think that works. Looking at it, I don't think this works. Because con here, con works with this. But because con is also used here, and it will otherwise get an outdated version, I think. This is the only way this could work. Let's see if it works, man. Hopefully. Undefined function user. Oh yeah, we don't have before a user. Create user, yay. I'm curious though, that if I were to IO inspect this, args, what would I get back? Variable user does not exist. My bad. This is what it's supposed to be. Sorry, sir. Try again. Okay, so you get a con. Okay, so what if I pass login here? What would I get? Or wait, let's just do something else. YOLO. Let's have a function called YOLO. YOLO that takes some shit, apparently, and then it inspects it. Yes, give me that. Give me that sheet. Okay, so we set up with YOLO and then we see what we're gonna get. So we did that after we create the user, which means that we might already have the user. Yeah, we have a user. Yay. Perfect. That's good. Which means that here we get our context and then we can take out con as con, and then we can take out, oh, actually we can just do that in here. And then we can do user as user. And then we do this. Yes. So let's see if this works. So if we were to call this yes. I don't know what it did before, what the function looked like before, but let's do a get and then see if we're logged in. Ooh, we're not passing. Next unit callback to okay, blah 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 blah, got blah 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 blah. I don't know if this helps, but we'll see. Expect a connection to have a response, but no response was sent. Please verify that you assign to con after the request. Aha. How does it know? How does it know? That's insane. Such a good error message. And it passed. Yes, we are logged in. And we can now use this in here, which is nice. So we should move this somewhere that we can reuse this within our tests. So maybe we should define this in our support thingies here. Import router helpers. So here we could have like a couple of those helpers like login, for example. Let's try that. But if we want to log in, then we also want to make a user. So I don't know if we want to create the user ourselves every time and just pass it. But if you want to log in, you need a user. Yeah. Okay. Wondering what I want to do. Anyhow. Test when not logged in. Describe auth. Describe when not logged in. Should test that it redirects to... What does it actually do? I don't even know what my error handler does. Goes back to login. Login with an error message. So this test will also need to reuse because... Yeah. Maybe we just need a 401. Maybe that's just good enough to test. Well, it actually redirects. Okay, so when you're not logged in and we try to visit this admin page, or any URL rather, admin user path, assert that the it should redirect, assert redirect X unit. HTML response 302. Assert that /login redirect path host connection, create password, connect, assert to login. Yeah, so we go here and it asserts that it's 302. And then we recycle connection. And then we want to see if this message is there. Assert flash Elixir Phoenix. Assert get flash, which is in the router helper, I would say, probably. There's also a built-in function that can help you do that. Huh. Beautiful. Sup, Louis? Sup, G. What is your name, man? J. Louis. Welcome. How's it going? Alright, let's see if this works. I have no clue, honestly. It should definitely not be info. I think this is error, but let's see if this fails. Compiler. Describe inside another describe. Hey, you don't like that? Come on, man. Sadness. Test when logged in. No, when it's not logged in. Alright, rip. So our flash message is nil, which makes sense. Which makes sense because we're actually redirected to, so the flash message would only be on that page. So if we were to then follow the connection, follow the redirect. Up Stressful Snail, how's it going? I like your name. It's a cool name. Let's see if this works. So what is this project about? It's literally just rebuilding my Rails app. It still doesn't work. Is that because info is set like that? Let's see. Because if I do error, it does fail. That would be a really shitty error message. It passed now. Wow, okay, so the error message when I have the wrong type would just tell me there is no error message whatsoever. That could have been a little better. See, it just says, oh, get flash with this type could not be found. Can I do a get flash with just this? Let's see. IO inspect. Get flash with just the connection. What would that give me? That would give me error. Oh, so it's a map. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't know. Right. So you're basically just checking for info. If the info key is there, then just take that. All right, that's fine. We can assert for error. Do we want to assert multiple paths? Are you liking Elixir functional programming over Ruby? Well, I just like Phoenix more than Rails, because I've been using Rails, and there's some things that I don't agree with that was like about the structuring of Rails that I prefer in Phoenix a lot more. So I'm very happy about that. And then the more I use functional programming, the more I love it. Because there's so much shit that just works and it just makes sense. When I work, the more I work with it, the more it makes sense. And the more it cleans up my code. Because let's say in Ruby, I don't think there's even like, function overloading is not a thing in Ruby. So if I were to have like a function called blah in Ruby, I think this is the syntax, right? Just like Elixir. I were to have multiple versions of this function, I would then have to inside here do like a switch block or like whatever if like my arguments here change. Because I cannot just say def blah and have another one where if I pass a string, and here I pass a number or an integer, then I want different versions of the same function. This is not possible in Ruby. Because it's not a strict type language. I don't understand anything. The arguments I have
I
with...
don't understand anything. The only arguments I have is with plebs on Dota 2.
Yo, Luna, thanks so much for the is it 200 bits? I never get bits. I don't know. I think that's 200. Thank you so much, Luna. I really appreciate it. Love you, girl. So, if I were to have... You never get tits. No, I never get tits. Feels bad, man. In Elixir, I can actually just do this. I can say, yo, if blah is of a type string, I think I can just do string. I don't know actually how I would do this, but probably more functional in JavaScript, but Elixir looks interesting. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just applying a lot more functional patterns in JavaScript now, because I work as a front-end dev, so you know, it's I just do this on the side. But what I'm building is actually just my website, just rebuilding it using Elixir because it uses less memory and it's faster than Ruby. So it's fun. I learn a lot more.
I love Java like the coffee.
You like Java like the coffee. Thanks, Luna. Appreciate it. Wait, is there Java? I don't drink coffee. I'm like the only person on the planet. I'm the only developer in the world that does not drink coffee. Can you believe it? Can you actually believe it? So we need a setup here. We need to create a user again. And we need to log in. Can I do this before every test? I don't think so. Because this one does not have it. Neither do I. But people call coffee Java, so I thought it was funny. Wait, you don't drink coffee? What the fuck? I'm not the only person on the planet that doesn't drink coffee anymore. Alright, let's enable all these tests and just add some setup blocks to create users and all that shit. So I create a user. And I need to create another user. So as you can see, I have one function called fixture here. And I'm pattern matching, saying that if this fixture is called with the atom user, then run this function. But I can just define another one called blah, which is just the same fixture. And the nice thing is within my test, I can now just call fixture with blah, or I can just quickly swap it out to be user, and I just have to call one function. And I don't have to do an if statement here, checking like, hey, if the first argument is of type user, then call this. Otherwise, call whatever we need for blah, you know? It's just, you just define your function with a specific signature, and it will only be called if that signature passes. Which I think is really fucking cool. I love that. Okay, so deleting a user. This is the most important part. In deleting a user, we have two cases. We only deletes the chosen user if not the current user. Or deletes the chosen user. No. Errors out whenever you try to delete the current logged in user. Errors out when deleting current user. That should be fine. So I need to create another user here, which we're going to use this fixture create user. Another user. Okay. Another user. Equals create user with anything, and then I'm hypersensitive to caffeine, so if I take energy drinks and coffee I get migraines. Oh shit, that sucks. I wouldn't even know, man. I'm like always full of energy. I'm like, when I'm at work, I'm just always full of energy, and then people just drink a fuck ton of coffee and I'm just always full of energy anyways. I don't even know what would happen if I were to drink coffee or energy drink or whatever. I don't drink energy drink either because I think it's really bad for you. But all right, so we created another user supposedly, and then we're gonna do a delete request for this other user. And it should redirect you back to the admin user page, and then it should not have, when I try to fetch that user, it should give a 404, because so it basically says that the user is deleted, right? That's good. Now in here, we need to do the exact same thing, create a new user, and so let's call this current user. So another user is not there anymore. And current user so we delete the current user. So we don't actually need to create another user for this one. So when you try to delete yourself, it's going to, what is it going to do? Let's see, user controller. What is it actually going to do when I try to delete myself? So normally we get back the okay when you delete. Now we redirect. So we redirect back to here, but we also put a flash. Okay, well, we can assert that. That's good. So when deleting the current user, errors out when deleting the current user. So we're gonna assert that you redirect to connection, and it equals to this. We assert that there's a flash message error called cannot delete the current user. Boom. And then we also assert that the user is not actually deleted. So we can assert that connection is okay. 200? Is that what it is? Is that what you get back? I don't know what you get back. What do we do in the show? Index, blah blah, edit, update, delete. Is there no show? Index, new user. So we redirect that we go there, and then we don't have a show user because when you create a user, you already redirect to that page. That's a little weird, but I'll take it. Brew coffee with energy drinks instead of water. It counters caffeine. That sounds horrible. Don't worry, coffee makes your breath smell bad. Equals less tits. True fact. True fact. That is a true fact. It also makes your teeth look like hella bad. Okay, I don't know if this is what we're getting back, but the assertion will fail and it will tell us what the fuck it is. So we want to get the admin user and we want to see that we get like an okay back. That's all I want to see. Okay. Yeah, so in this one we're asserting that it's a 404 so that the user is actually deleted. Here we're actually checking if current that we see this error basically. Let's see if this is the case. Mixed test, baby. Current user is unused. That is true. Current user is unused. Where is that? Invalid uses of this. So because I don't use it, doesn't matter that I call it without this. Compilation error. Undefined create user 0. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, we can call it with anything, so let's just call it with this. Couldn't care less, really. Undefined another user. Undefined function another user. That's true, because we're supposed to check on a current user. That's okay. Expect redirector with status blah blah blah. What we got back is something completely different. We asserted we got back OK 200. What we get back is a plug connect. HTML response connect 200. Yeah, let's do that. No. We actually assert the. I just want to assert the response that it's like 200. I don't care that it's whatever. Hey, my fan is broken. Can you blow me instead?
Can you blow me instead?
Jesus, you're hitting me up with all the good pickup lines. What a time to be alive. Wait, what? It redirects me. But I'm logged in, right? Do I need to log in again? Because we get a new connection. Probably. Maybe we're not logged in anymore. I think we are still logged in. I think the connection would like still persist. Hitting you up, big boy. Do you have anything that is else that's as long as your commands? Hey, you talking shit? Jesus. Do you have anything else that is as long as your commands? I do not, man. I do not. Everything is just the opposite of long here. Oh my god. It is my lady, Naomi. Thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream, girl? Okay, if you guys haven't checked out Naomi out, check her out. She's an incredible streamer. Please give her a follow. Please check her out. Sup, Degenan, how's it going? What's up, Gekirit? I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it. Gekirids. Gekirids. How would you even pronounce your name, man? How does one pronounce your name? It's the real question. What's up, Zenro? How's it going? Is Geki? Oh, I'll take that. How's the game, Naomi? Alright, so Gek es gecko. Gecko. I don't even know how to pronounce that in English, if I'm completely honest. Alright, so we assert a redirect, which is good. But I think this one, we just need to somehow relog in or whatever, because it says our response was a 302. Which is a little weird, if you ask me. I think we need to recycle, like we did here. Here, like recycle connection. But I don't know if that's gonna delete another thing. How do I assert that it's like a response of 200? What am I working towards? So, okay, so I have my current website, digitalcats.com. This is a Rails app. So it's an application that I wrote before, which has like a bunch of things that you can do on this page. You can like wiggle the wig. It's nice. It's cool. It's like stupid stuff that I built over time, and that is still working. The thing is though, that is using quite some old technology. This is not a spa, not at all. Site. So what I want to do instead is rebuild this using a more modern, I would say it's more modern technology that basically supports sockets from within its core. Like Ruby, there's so many like programming languages that have trouble doing real-time stuff, and Elixir is from the core, it just supports it, which makes it really easy to like hook up like real-time support and all that stuff. So it's super nice that we can get that powerful that stuff out of the box. For example, maybe you guys know Discord. The app Discord is also built using Elixir. They have like talks in it, I think, as well. Discord, Elixir. How Discord scaled Elixir to 5 million concurrent users. So Elixir, the language, is basically built on top of Erlang, which is a language created by Motorola, if I remember correctly. And or by Ericsson? Maybe it's Ericsson actually. I thought it was Motorola, but I think it's Ericsson actually. And this programming language is basically the foundation also of WhatsApp, for example. The WhatsApp was built using Erlang. The rare programming language behind WhatsApp's success. So this is like it is basically built for the telecom market, being like, okay, we need to have a high amount of uptime, so very fail safe. And it's basically, its messaging system is like really powerful. So I think I think it's good to explore this, and it's nice that it's functional because I wanted to learn that anyways. Because I think the front-end world is moving slowly to functional languages. And I think if you grasp functional languages, you will actually become a much better developer. What's up, Anumra? How's it going? Oh my god, you're in a Nadine sub as well. Poggers. Look at that. I can do that too. I need to copy it though, because I can't type. All right, let me type it. Look, Look at that. Object-oriented coding. It's the opposite of object-oriented. So you have object-oriented and you have functional. Just two different ways of going over it. So front-end wise, I really don't care about what this is. Like, I can easily build this into an API or whatever, but I just want to understand how this thing works. And I don't think this needs to be a spa. There's nothing like too crazy here that's happening that I couldn't do with anything else. And like this, the platform that we're building now needs to allow for a lot faster development than I've done with my Rails app, which is weird because I'm really used to Rails and I can probably squash in a bunch of features real fast. But because of the limitations in terms of feature sets and what you need to do in order to get real-time working, it starts limiting your features. So the ideas that I have require maybe more real-time stuff. And I have even a product idea that I want to build. And I think Elixir is probably one of the better ways I can build that application. I'm not going to talk about what it is. I'm not even sure if I can make money with it. But I think it can be a pretty cool idea. And this is like a nice, like contained way of trying out this new language. And the cool thing is that because I have full ownership of the server and the reverse proxy that I'm using, I can just like have this Rails app running, and then when I hit playlist, for example, this is the only part that is going to be Elixir. So it redirects to, you know, my Elixir app, and that takes over. So I can just app by app, I can just switch over. So maybe leaderboards will be last, and this will be like the Rails app for a very long time because I have no clue how I'm going to migrate this without data loss. Well, this stuff can be easily like switched over to the Elixir app if needed. Or maybe only the new stuff will be in Elixir, who knows? But at least I want to have the environment available to manage it. I don't mind paying attention to this normally, but I'm way too tired for this right now. So have fun and enjoy it. Yo, Tegenaan, thanks so much, man. Don't worry about it. So for those of you who are wondering what we're doing now, currently we are testing, because I still need to understand how testing works in Elixir. And what tests basically are is that you have written a bunch of code and then you assert that that piece of code is working. And you might think, okay, but you know, I can also click through the website and see that it's working, right? Like I have the app running here. I can click through, I can log out, for example, and I can see that it's logging out. That's nice, right? Like I can just click it. Why would I need to write a test that does exactly this? Well, the thing is that you don't want to keep manually testing this every single time you build something. Because every time you build something, you want to be building something. You don't want to be looking back at the old stuff you've built if that's still working, right? So all the stuff that you keep on building might break something else in your app and you don't know about it if you don't have tests. So what you could either do is just keep on clicking everything every single time you build something and see if nothing broke. That's kind of a lot of manual work, right? So what you want to do instead, you want to write some piece of code that will do that work for you, and it will figure out if your stuff is still working. An example of this is basically that if I'm not logged in, for example, so I log out and I go to /admin/users, that it will redirect me to the login page because I need to be logged in order to view this. So what we're doing here is we wrote a test saying when not logged in, it redirects to login with an error message. So it tries, without logging in, it tries to go to the admin user path, which is /admin/users. And then it asserts that we're redirected to login, which we can rewrite a little bit better because we have done that here. Redirect to. I think this is a little more readable than the other one. Assert redirect connection to the login path in X. and that the flash message was an error with you need to be logged in before you can continue. And if that's the case, then we've pretty much validated that this thing is now doing its thing, which is nice. PHP developer, we have PHP unit. That's nice. That's nice. Or if I'm using Laravel, use Bugsnag. Well, Bugsnag is not for testing. Bugsnag's for, you know, catching your runtime errors. This is Visual Studio Code? This is Visual Studio Code, yes. Are you chilling this weekend or not? Because no one else can? I'm down. I'm down. I've had another... So some colleagues are going out for barbecue. Are going to barbecue at like in Utrecht or something. So it's up to you. If you wanted to chill, I'm down. Otherwise, we're not. You guys can go to the Pannenkoeken boat together. You still owe me some salmon pancakes. But welcome, Timothy. How's it going? So for index, for example, which is the listing of the users. So if we were to log in, bobross.com, password 123456. And we go to /admin/users. We'll get this listing, right? So what we're doing here is we're checking, hey, before you run this test, create a user and log in. And then we test, hey, if you go to admin users, we should see listing users somewhere in the HTML. And that's the case. That's nice. At least we got that covered. Maybe we should test if that user is already there. Who knows? Maybe we can assert HTML response. Connection 200 to equal this. We also have some email. See if that still passes. What's up, Grubin? How's it going? Oh, that broke. Yo, Zenro, thanks so much for the follow, man. Trying to find login path. Wait, there's no login path? Wait, let me check my routes. Mix, Phoenix, routes. Session path. Oh, okay, sure. Session path connection is new. Sure. Create user redirects to show, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think the test passed. Because I don't see it here. What's up, Mauro E? How's it going? I know you have something, Mauro E. Oh, wait, I think you, Mauro E. You joined a Discord as well, no? Billy May speaking. What? If it's on Friday, I can come, but probably not Saturday, Sunday. Work. Rip. Yeah, so a couple tests are failing right now. So update user, redirects when the data is valid. So we created a user, we logged in the user, and then we want to update the user. So we update the user, we redirect to show. How's that failing? Oh. That's because we need to log in again for the second connection. Yeah, that sucks. I don't like that. I don't like that very much. I do not like that very much. Do you know the name Willy met een W? Nope. But I can pretend. Yeah, this is kind of annoying. That is kind of annoying. Let's see if we yeah, I don't think this recycle thing works either, but let's see. Maybe it does. Who knows? Was jij gisteren niet aan het RP'en? Nope. What? You. Well, next time you do it, hit me up. Would love to join if I'm not too annoying. Wait, what are we doing? Are we chilling? Are we going to the pannenkoeken schip? Boat? Wait, I think some test just disappeared. Oh, I think that's because I uncommented it, right? No match on the right side. Because I got an error. Because the email address is already taken. Ah, shit. That's way more impressive, yeah. That's what we used to call it. Shite. Okay. So let's create another function called create user that takes a bunch of arguments. Oh, and otherwise it's just an empty one. Yo, Anumra, thanks so much for the follow. And then what we will do is just this. But we will pass some... What? Wait, I've done this somewhere else. In the service, I think. In the accounts test. I did it like this. What the fuck? Alright, user fixture, sure. I'll just copy this code. Sure. And attributes. Sure. Sounds good to me. Looking good. User, even though we only work with users here, it's fine. Args. And then you can pass any arguments. And then you get back a user and you return a user. And then if you call it with this, I'll just call it call create user. Ooh. Yeah, this is kind of annoying because this one is not typed, so this one will always match. So what if we do two arguments? First one I don't care about. Second one is args. Oh, yikes. This is gonna be really nasty. Okay, so if this is the case, then we'll just pass this args. Oh no, this is bad. Context or something like that. Oh, this is so bad. And we'll just pass something here. So we will call this version of it. Yeah. Well, let's do it this way. Okay, so now I can create a user with passing different arguments. Oh no, this is so nasty. It's fine though. So if I create another user with email being another user at email.com. Not liking this at all, but I'm also fine with it. Let's see if this works now. Okay, that is completely broke. All the tests. Collectible is not implemented for nil. Attributes. Enum into valid attributes. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Create attributes. That's why it was broken, probably. That thing does not exist. Oh, passing some stuff. Passing some more tests. Test took 7 seconds though, but expected error to be send as 404 status. Oh, response sent 302 because we got redirected. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. After when the data is valid. So at least we fixed this other case. This one. Now at least that's working because we can create a user now. And then we try and delete that user and then it's all good. And then we redirect and then it fails on this one because we're not logged in anymore. Kind of sucks. Kind of hate how that's happening. How we keep logging out. All right, so what if I can call defp login with a user, a connection, and a user. Now we'll just call login again, but then like this. User. Yeah, let's do that. And then just log in beforehand again. See how that goes? I'm not too happy about it. Not gonna lie. A little bit sad. And it does not even work, I think. Expected is for a 4, but it got no response. Plug connection already sent. What the fuck? Is it recycle time? Alright. Recycle on. Pipe it true. Login. Type it true. Connection. All right. Please pass. Oh, broken. Not a little bit broken either. Expected first argument to be of plug con, but got okay. Connection. Okay, so let's get something else. Try again. Just keep on trying. Yep. No match on the right side. On the right side value of con adapter blah 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 blah. Right. Oh, I think this is a tuple actually, so it should be like this. Oops. Still no right hand match. All right, let's do this. Wait, actually, this will just give me a connection back. What this was before was get connection, admin user path, connection, show, blah, blah, blah. Let's do con equals this. And con do this. And it should be good, right? It's not. Aha. So expected this to be 4 of 4, but we got an okay. Is that what it is? So we're deleting another user. So let's assert that the other user ID does not equal my current user ID. Because I don't want to delete the same user, right? Let's assert that. See if that passes. Okay, so that passes because they're not the same ID. That's good. Okay, so my another user is something else than my current user. So I delete my other user. It redirects me to this URL. And I can assert that in the user controller, we say user deleted successfully. Assert that the flash connection info equals this. And then all we want to know if this connection is... All right, what if we just do the request? IO inspect, just doing the request. Get connection, admin user path, connection, show another user. See what happens if we do this. So this will send me back to login because I'm not logged in anymore. Okay. Alright, it's a little bit ugly, but I just want to see. And then we'll recycle the connection here. And then we'll see. First argument of plug in connect. Expect the first argument to be plug in connect. Argument error. Which one though? Oh, wait. This gives me okay and then connect back. Okay, wait. Okay, so what this will do, this will give me okay connect. Connection, and then I just return the connection. This would work. Because now I get a proper connection back and I can re-log in. If we do this now, this should work. If I don't make any typos. Log in. I think there's one too many. Okay, so now we get we still get 302 though. Following arguments were given. To login one connection, and that was it. So I'm missing a user. Oh yeah, oops. This one should still be there. This one should be in here. All right, let's get rid of this. And let's do this properly. Let's get connection, pipe it through login with the current user, because otherwise it's going to be a mess. And then we pipe this through a get, and then we'll see what we're going to get. IO inspect. I love pipes, man. Okay, I really have to go. Gotta work on ethics committee approval form. Jesus, good luck. Good luck, Naomi. Thanks so much for the raid. Thanks so much for subbing by. Really appreciate it. Hope you had a great stream. Good luck with programming. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so the connection is already sent. So if I were to recycle, I think we can reuse the same connection. Oh. Yeah, so we got a no results error. That's exactly what we wanted. So finally we get to the stage where we can use this code. Where you can say, okay. A little ugly. Definitely say that. We did it! Yo, Octano, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Oh my god, we did it. This is really ugly. Holy shit. But we'll figure this out. We'll add a to-do here. Fix me. See if we can refactor this. Code seems very ugly. But it's working, so I'm fine with that. And let's do the same thing here. So here we want to assert that it's 200. if we do a get, yeah. I can do an HTML response, which is fine, but is there any other ways? Let me see. If I Google HTML response, I will probably get more methods. Connection test, yes. What are the other methods I can use? JSON response, HTML response. Response. Assert that given the status code and returns the response body if one was set or send. I don't want to assert that. I just want to assert like a status code. What do we get back here? IO inspect. Inspect it, boy. It's already super late. I should be in bed already, but I just want to finish this test. All right, so that's going wrong. We need to do this trick again. So relog in, recycle the request, relog in, and then we can do a get. And then we can do an IO inspect. And then we know what we get back. Instead of a 301, we get a status 200. Assert connection to... Let's see if this works. Connection. Or this is more like request, right? Or response. No, we get the connection back actually. I don't know if this will work. Probably not. It will probably tell me, hey, this is not the same shape. Match failed. This was on the left. This was on the right. Assert status code. Phoenix. Controller test. Status. I don't want to assert the body of the content. Do we do that here? Edit user. I guess so. Yo, Joey, thanks so much for the reset. Welcome back to the community for 53 centuries. Welcome back. Thank you so much, man. I guess we can check this then. That's fine. If we do that in other places, I'm okay. All right, let's add a fix me here too. Code seems very ugly, but I don't want to. I want to keep this like repeated because I don't want to put this in a method because then the pile of shit is somewhere hidden, and then I can't see it. I just want to be able to see all the pile of shit and be like, okay, yeah, this totally needs to be refactored. Shit, why did you do this, Boyd? Why on earth did you do this? That's what I want. I just want my future self to be like, Jesus, Boyd, this is the worst code in the world. But sometimes you need to ship, guys. You can't just strive for perfection all the time. Sometimes there needs to be something that is shippable. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna ship this. This ugly code needs to be shipped. But the thing is, these are tests. So if the test code is a little ugly, that's okay. As long as they do their job. You can refactor tests later as long as they catch the same stuff. Very minimal viable product. I mean, if I was actually super MVP, I would probably skip tests, but I don't want to skip tests. Skip tests are important. Tests have saved my ass so many times. Right, so something is... I'm sorry, HTML responds. What do I get back? Hello, Jizra cats, blah blah blah. It's the user, current user. Cannot delete the current user. That's the error that we got. Wait, so the request. What? This gave me 404 when I did this. But when I do this here, I get the old response back. That is so strange. Oh no, this is correct actually, no? Wait, this case is the error case. Yeah, it errors out. Oh, this is fine. So this should be 422 now. What are we saying here? Wait, what is our response here actually? I don't even know. It should be 422. Let's see. Where do you run your VPS? I run it on DigitalOcean right now. Got 200. Body. Logged in. Some email. That's good. Password is this. That's fine. Oh, there should be an alert. Cannot delete current user. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, glad that my test got that. Very happy that I'm writing tests because I've completely forgot about this case. So because this one is an active chain set, it already knows based on the chain set that the thing failed. But because this is not a chain set, maybe this should be a chain set. Maybe this should be a chain set. It's almost 1 a.m. What the fuck are you doing? What's up, Connor? What's up, Syndra? What's up, Kevin? So what is it for? What do you mean, Wolfie? I think put status is a thing. Yep. Takes a connection, so it takes the connection and it sets the status. Beautiful. So now our test should pass. Let's see. 422, add a user. And it should have a flash message saying this. Oh, what happened? Did we just have more tests failing? Expected redirection, which says we got 422. Wait, where are we redirecting? User path index, right? Yeah. What? What? A search redirect con to index, but we got 422. How the fuck did we get 422? Oh. No, this is right. Yeah, this is right. Yeah, so the user, if we do not a request, the user should give us 200. Yeah, this makes sense, actually. This is correct. What's up, Darly? How's it going? Yo, if you guys haven't checked out Darly out, check her out. Stop streaming. Yeah, I should be going to bed, but my tests are almost passing. She's amazing. Check her out. Give her a follow. Such a struggle. Okay, what's the problem now though? Added user. Is added user not in here? Added user. Oh, it's not actually in the response. What is in our page? What even is in our page? So if I click on edit here. Oh no, we're clicking on show. Show user is what it should say. Right. Oops. That's the only thing. All right, beautiful. The struggle is real. That's programming, man. Oh, actually, that's my keyboard sitting behind my laptop. Look at this. Keyboard is right there. My laptop is right here. That's definitely an issue. How did you stream today, darling? Okay, so we finished. We need 2 more test cases that we need to pass, and then we can go to bed. It's way too late already. I should pretty much already be in bed. I'm literally gonna die tomorrow. But we need to finish these tests. And then we're good to go. So for those of you that don't know what tests are there basically to cover my ass. They're basically just automating, checking if everything still works. So if I were to build something new, I want to make sure that everything that I already built beforehand is still working. So what I'm saying here is that if I click this delete button, or if I if I enable this delete button and somebody were to delete the current user, so you're logged in as Bob at Ross, you should not be able to delete yourself. That should be very bad. So you're never allowed to delete yourself. And we're basically testing that. So if I were to build another feature, I would 100% know that this thing still works, which is important because you will not be able, as your app grows, you will be having a hard time making sure that everything that you're building is still working. So you're writing like automation, basically testing if everything still works. So I'm basically telling it like, hey, create a new user with these attributes. It should test that it should go to this page and it should show this information on the screen and all that stuff, which is important. Yeah, so this one needs to do the exact same bullshit again with this login shit and whatever. Really hate it. We really should fix this, but we'll do that later. Future boy is gonna hate me, but that's okay. Future Boyd is allowed to hate me. That is completely fine. Sorry. All right, fix me, reconfigure this code. Seems very ugly. That's good. Ugly code is good code. All right, let's see if this test passes now. This should pass. Oh, we made a typo somewhere. Undefined current user. That's correct because it's user. User. No. Yes. Could log into current user. Do it. Oh, still 2 failing. Assert ID. Redirected params. So I asserted that I'm going to redirect whenever you create a user. Let's see if that's actually the case. So if I create a user here, I go to the show of that page. So I get redirected params, get the ID. Expected redirection status 302, but got 200. That's kind of shit. How is that even possible? If I create a user in the code, it says when I create a user, redirect to the show for that user. So that's what it should do. But for some reason it got 200. What if we just comment this out? No more recycling. Just checking. How? How does that work? Alright, let's try the other one. See if we can get that working. This is like some updated, some updated email. Recycled, bullshit, boom, boom, boom. This should be the one. Oh, so I passed the ID instead of the user here. Can I do that as well? Maybe. I don't know. I've only passed the user so far. Okay, so we're doing this bullshit here, and then let's see if that works even. Maybe this one will pass now because we logged in the user. And then we have one more to go. All right. I think we have one more test to go. Well, shit. All right, we need to copy paste this comment as well. That the code is shit, and we should look at that later. Praise the Lord. Okay, so we get an ID here and an admin user path. Is this actually in the original code? Probably is. Redirect to ID. When you take out the ID from your redirected params. Yikes. It should redirect to this path. But apparently, this redirected params does not exist because the connection said that it's not at all IO inspect. Our boy, what are you doing? What is the state that you're in right now? You're in 200 because where the fuck are you? You are sending user with the email and the password, which is good. And then it was hashed at some point, so that's good. But the email address is already taken. That's funny. That's pretty funny. I like how I get a 200 though when that happens. That is kind of odd. That is very bad, in fact. I do not see an alert though. Something went wrong. Please check the errors below. The email address has already been taken. How does it not? What? When there's an error, how does it not set the response correctly? Because this is literally scaffolded. Anyhow, okay, sure. Very weird, but sure. Which means that we have to create a user with a new email. Yeah, so we can do map merge. Because it is a map. Email. Awesome email at email.com. That was the only reason why it wasn't working. That's ridiculous. Okay. So, attributes. Let's put this in a variable. And then shove this in here. Nah, this is good enough. Okay. So now we should be able to create a user, which means that my status code is 200, which is passing. Good. Now we can enable this test, which should say, I can also go to the show page and you will also be there. All right, beautiful. All right, that's working. Current user is unused. That is true. Oh, actually, we can do this. Does that work? I can still say that it's current user. We'll see. User is unused. That is also a true fact. All right, let's try. It's unused. All right, so that's the warning. Oh, this is in the skip though. This is in the skip, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, beautiful. We did it. And it's almost 1 a.m. Oh my god, I'm gonna kill myself tomorrow. Like, I'm gonna hate myself so much when I wake up tomorrow. I'm literally just gonna be sitting there and just be like, Boyd, what did you do? Why did you do this to yourself? Thought it was fast creating a user at 340 milliseconds. Where does it say that? I don't think I've written my tests like super like efficient, but it doesn't matter. I'd rather have a little bit more inefficient stuff. You're 3 or 2 after creating a user. Status received after 340 milliseconds. Is that what it said? Or here? Well, that's fine though. That's fine because it's using Bcrypt. So Bcrypt is basically made to be slow because it's hashing the password. So when you create a user, it's hashing the password using Bcrypt. So if you look into Bcrypt, which I basically said in the last episode, which is now on my YouTube channel, basically Bcrypt, in order for people to not easily find your password, you're basically slowing down the hashing process of your password. So you make it as like slow as possible, basically. As long as it's like acceptable to the user that you wait 300 milliseconds instead of like 2 seconds, or like if I set Bcrypt to the lowest setting, it's probably super fast, but it also, yeah, hashing is faster, which means that people can like easily figure out what it is by just brute forcing. Yeah, slower crypt, slower brute force, exactly. All right, so there's a bunch of hacks in this file, but we did cover pretty much everything, which is good. But I should be writing some helpers here that I can reuse everywhere. And I need to figure out how to set up the authentication a little better, because now I need to log in every time. But we'll see. We'll see eventually. Right now, we just made it work, and we can always make it better. The more we work with it, the better we get. The more we can refactor. We at least have the coverage. That's the most important thing. As long as you have test coverage and you write shitty code, then that's okay. You can write as shitty code as you want, as long as as long as your test suite is good. You can refactor later, because your test suite will catch errors if you refactor later. But your test should be good. So I don't care that my tests are very ugly, because as long as they work, they work. So they cover my cases and it works. And I can later on figure out with the working code base if I can refactor my tests to make them better. But I want my suite to be trustworthy every time I run it, that it catches all my shit. So if I now were to change something, for example, if I now remove this case, then the test should fail. Hope for the best. This better fail now. Delete user errors out when deleting current logged in user. Beautiful. If I remove this one, another test will fail. Because what I'm saying here is that I should be able to delete the user and have a success message. But it fails. Which is good. So my tests are catching business requirements here. I'm saying that if I'm not logged in, or if I'm logged in and I'm trying to delete myself, I will get an error. And that's very good. Because that means that I can refactor later and still have this business requirement telling me that this error should show up and that I haven't deleted the user yet. Which is good. Beautiful. Good stuff. Unused alias. Unused alias in user controller. Oh no, not anymore, not anymore. We don't have that anymore, do we? No. Beautiful. All right, let's commit this and then go to bed because it's hella late already. Yeah, so let's do these two together. It's rewrite user controller test to admin user controller test. Still a bit nasty, but it does the job. Smiley face. That's good. And what did we do here? Fix faint warnings. Beautiful. Push it. All right. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Next thing we need to do is like write a little bit more test cases for a couple cases that I didn't cover. But you know, the more I learn about tests now, when I haven't written that much code yet, will help me get up to coverage real fast. Because for example, encryption module is not tested. This is not tested. So most of it is already covered. But this is all like fairly easy testable. So, anyhow, thank you guys for stopping by, and see you guys next time.